Hey guys, and welcome back to Building the Quakertown in Southern, Part 10, Episode 12 of Train Simulator series. It's beginning to get to the point where I'm starting to lose a little bit of track of this, but we're still carrying on. You actually may notice a change of scenery in today's working episode. This is actually down near Percy. We're kind of moving on from the Quakertown area. It's not done by any means. This is definitely going to be a long-term project. I mean, we're 10 months into it now at this point, and I've been working on it for well over a year, but 10 months publicly. But we're down in Percy, so you'll notice a few custom-sized buildings and everything. Just trying to make some things work here. I'm just kind of exploring my options. But a few custom-sized buildings just to kind of get the feel of Percy and some of the buildings there. But I wanted to start in Percy today, mainly because if you go back towards the beginning of this segment, you will have noticed like a little lumberyard, at least briefly, because I know this footage is sped up here. Unfortunately, because of that lumberyard, I've actually been forced to add another route to the DLC requirements. And that route is none other than the Stephen Pass route. The reason is the Stevens Pass route had some of the lumber assets that I needed. And unfortunately, the original groupings of routes didn't have. I know this may, having another requirement on top of what is objectively a lot of requirements, I'm going to make no ifs, ands, or buts about that, is a bit of a deal breaker for some, and even just a downer for others. What I'm going to try and do, and I'm still actively trying to do this, is decrease the requirements still. I'm looking into exploring removing Miami West Palm Beach. I just need to see what it affects. Again, I don't know if I'm going to be able to remove West Somerset because of the track rule that's in effect. Down near Lansdale for one little area that's tighter than I could get with any of the other routes. But I'm definitely still looking into removing some routes if I can. It's not by any means guaranteed, but I'm going to do my best to do that because I want to make this route as accessible as I can to everyone. Now, one thing I will say is I also want it to be as close to the real thing as I can get, so we're having to balance that out here a bit, and I do apologize for adding another route to the requirements, but it's just kind of the way it worked out. I hope you understand. I do understand if this is kind of a deal breaker for you. What I would recommend is maybe if you don't have Steam's Pass, wait for a Steam sale so you can get it for however cheap it can be on a Steam sale. And just wait until then, because it is, for right now, it is just that little lumberyard. So if you're okay with having just that little lumberyard as like the little milk bottle asset for right now, by all means, I wouldn't blame you at all. But again, I do apologize for that. It just, in order to get those certain assets, I unfortunately had to do that. My backup option was using Bessemer and Lake Erie. The problem is that's not available on Steam, and since I want this to be downloadable by those on Steam, that kind of again has ruled that out. You notice right here we're actually a little bit between Quakertown and Percy. We're starting to put in some more industries, filling some more things out. Now that the track work is basically done and all the track is where it kind of needs to be, kind of like a model railroad, we're now just kind of filling it out and making sure that all the details are there, at least in theory. You see here, I'm trying out numerous assets, and I'm only going to be showing you maybe 5 or 10, about 5 minutes of sped up footage here, because it took me a while to figure out what shed I wanted to use for this building, and just to figure out anything I wanted to use. You see me going through all different options, just trying to figure it out, and finally, as we go into this next clip, it took a while, but I did figure it out and got something that I thought looked pretty darn good. And while it's not 100% accurate, it will definitely get the point of this building across. and I really am kind of pleased with how this worked out. So I do hope you guys are enjoying the route. I do, again, apologize for this becoming more of a monthly thing. Things have been busy at work, but I haven't forgot about it. I am working on the route. If you've been keeping up with the change logs, I've been dealing with those. You'll see me updating things almost on a weekly basis. That way you guys have the most up-to-date route as you possibly can. And in fact, everything you're seeing in this footage is live now on the actual Steam Workshop route, and you'll be able to see it. Any feedback you guys have is always welcome. Again, I do apologize deeply for having to add Stephen's Pass as a route. Unfortunately, my ability to create custom buildings can only go so far, and I just hope that kind of understands. Again, if I do need to add routes, kind of like I did with Stephen's Pass, I will try to keep it to more common routes that people tend to have, rather than just some of the outliers that people probably won't have, and kind of go from there. You also see me kind of implementing those asset blocks again, the irregular asset blocks. If I had to say my favorite tool favorite asset out of any of this is the irregular asset block. It is come in clutch, for lack of a better way of saying it, multiple times for just getting assets I need into hard to reach and hard to define areas. And I know they don't recommend using asset blocks as much as I probably do in this route, as evident by all the trees, but it's honestly become one of my favorite tools, especially for covering these large areas with a single asset and still having it look good. So if I had to give a piece of advice from any of this experience, I know they say don't use them as too much because of frame rate and everything, but I would also say don't be scared of using the irregular asset block. And as we round up this episode, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.